All right, on to our next topic, which is kind of
Oh
a
boy.
doozy. Yeah. So, guys, I don't know if you've heard of Jesse Lee Peterson. I have to say, I was fortunate enough to not have heard of him until this past week, but he is an anti gay, very fringe pundit that has been accused of having sexual relationships with multiple men. I mean, when I
And he's
tell
a
you, it is
pastor. He's a
always.
pastor as well.
Always. Like, if there is a quintessential type person who's going to be caught in a gay affair, it is a homophobic pastor. Like, every time. I worked for a black gospel label in my early days of my career, and when I tell you the things I know behind the scenes about some of these people, the things I know. So I'm not surprised in the least to see this come out. For those of you who don't know him, though, he's about as fringe of a right-wing commentator as you can find. He's so extreme, it actually kind of comes off like a parody or like fake, honestly. And he's had a lot to say about gay people in the past. And even I actually noticed, so you and I both go on Young Turks pretty frequently, which is a very left-leaning progressive show, but we go on Dr. Rashad Ritchie's show, and we really love Dr. Rashad Ritchie. He's fun. We have good debates with him. But I saw him tweet in reference to this and basically re-upped a segment of his where he actually kicked this guy off his show because he was so homophobic in the actual like segment that he made him leave, which is
what is it about Black Lives Matter that you disagree with fundamentally?
Black Lives Matter was founded by a bunch of fat black radical lesbians.
Okay.
And who
All right,
hate
have a good
God.
man. Get this clown off my show. I appreciate you.
Who
Thank you.
hate-
Yeah. I said get this clown off my show.
I mean, you and I have had some very fierce debates with Dr. Rishi, but we've never gotten kicked off his show. So this guy really crosses the line. I think we want to play you a quick montage of just how homophobic he's been.
The spirit of homosexuality is of their father, the devil. It's not them, the person. It's the spirit that made a home in them. And it came from them overreacting to some sort of a situation in life, whether it's from someone messing with them when they were kids, or overreacting to an angry mother, because you become like what you hate. So it's an evil spirit, and they can't overcome it if they don't accept it as a right. They have to see that, yes, they're stuck into it, but it's something wrong with it. And in that, they're able to overcome it. God will remove that spirit away from them. And homosexuality is no different than any other sin. It's a falling away from God by overreacting to a situation. And so like it's no different than an alcoholic, a drug addict, women who beat men, men who beat women because they're angry, right? It's no different than any other spirit in that fallen state. A thief, a liar, or whatever.
So Hannah, how do I get rid of this evil spirit that's possessing me? And do you think I'm no different from an alcoholic or someone who beats their wife?
Just got to pray the gay away, Brad. I mean, this is like, oh God, I can't stand it. It really, this kind of thing triggers my religious trauma, and I'm sure it triggers you too as somebody who's actually like the target of this kind of commentary. But man,
I mean, I just have to laugh. I can't take it too seriously and let it get to heart. Especially because this guy clearly, as we're going to get into, was allegedly projecting a lot of internal self-hatred. So I kind of pity him, actually.
Yeah, I don't know if you mind speaking about this, but I'm curious about that because, like I said, this is a type. Like, we see this happen over and over and over where the most homophobic people end up actually having, like, gay relationships. And I don't understand it. I'm not gay, so I guess I don't really understand, like, what that mentality, where that comes from, how it makes sense. But there's got to be a psychological explanation for it.
Well, I think there is. And, it's kind of a woke term, but there's a little bit of truth to it. The concept of internalized homophobia. And so, like, I was never like this, to be clear. But even I think, when I was 18, 19, 20, still pretty uncomfortable and new to accepting myself and my sexuality, I was very self-conscious about, like, not acting effeminate or, not wearing clothes that looked gay or other things that, like, in hindsight, I look back and think, wow, that was pretty kind of internalized ignorance. Like, there's nothing wrong with wearing a tight sweater. There's nothing wrong with moving your hands when you talk. Like, that doesn't hurt anyone. It's just how some people are. And it's not really me. I've never been super effeminate, but A little bit in some ways, and I think as I've gotten more comfortable with myself, I've been able to let that go. I think the most extreme version of that is when you are taught that you are sick and broken and wrong and worthy of hate, that then that hate inside, you can't bundle up hate inside without it spewing outwards. That's why, hurt people. I honestly think that's what it is. It's when you hate yourself and you're just trying to make yourself feel better. It's like you're the schoolyard bully, picking on others to make yourself seem cool. It really is, I think, that.
I guess that tracks. And I can only assume, especially if somebody like grew up in the church and heard these messages of homophobia and like constant just degradation that you often hear from the pulpit, that would begin to create kind of a psychosis of some sort where you do internalize that. And that makes me very sad. And honestly, this is one thing I've said to people, no matter where you are religiously on these things, like be careful about how you talk about people. Be careful about how you go around saying things, because it has real impacts on people's minds and their long-term outcomes. And I think that it makes me very sad. I've seen some of that throughout my life. I grew up doing theater, so I had a lot of gay friends in the Deep South who were closeted, who ended up leaving and coming out later on in life. And like, I would know that they were gay, but like nobody else would know. And they were scared to come out and like actually lived with fear in these communities. And often it was because of religious people that they had that fear and that they were so scared of how they would be treated in society. And so that's something that really does break my heart. And I guess while I can't stand this kind of rhetoric from people, and I certainly have to say, like, when they get discovered, there's a little piece of me that kind of like rejoices in it a little bit. Like
a
maybe
little schadenfreude or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into the tea, though. So I want to preface this by saying that this is not proven. These are allegations. We don't know for sure that this is true. But this is new reporting from the Daily Beast about Jesse Lee Peterson. And according to the Daily Beast, 4 people have come forward with their names on the record to say 2 have said that Jesse Lee Peterson and them had sexual relationships for years, 2 men, and 2 have said that they did not engage, but he propositioned them or made sexual advances towards them. So 4 people on the record. Here's the reporting from the Daily Beast. Several of Peterson's one-time friends allege that the pastor's own personal life is rife with gay sexual relationships. 2 of Peterson's former male associates came out in June with on-the-record interviews saying they engaged in sexual activities with him, while other men say he propositioned them. These allegations about the pastor, who in public is staunchly heterosexual, have ripped like an earthquake through the manosphere, which is the toxic kind of alpha male circles that he runs in. And then this guy who was basically the movement that Peterson founded had a house where a bunch of the men lived, and this was the house manager, said that he witnessed, and this is more quotes from the Daily Beast, witnessed Peterson acting physically affectionate towards men in ways that he deemed suspicious, including one bizarre incident, and just prepare yourself for this one, with Peterson and another man. In Santer's telling, the house manager, he walked in on the pair as the unnamed man was wrapped up in a blanket like a burrito, while Peterson hugged him and kissed his forehead. Santer also alleges that Peterson once confronted himself while massaging his own genitals before smiling at him and walking away. Now, these are just allegations. They are not verified or proven, but it's pretty hard to see why 4 people would come out on the record with their names attached and just fabricate something like this, especially because these are people in his right-wing movement.
I'm sorry. I have to go back for a minute. This man was running a house for men.
Of men. That was a red flag. To like live as authentic men and like, yeah, it's extremely homoerotic stuff.
What? I'm sorry. Red flags everywhere. Like, and he calls his sphere the manosphere. Like, this was predictable. I'm sorry. Like, everybody should have seen this coming. And I agree with you. I mean, you can't prove these kinds of things, but why would people come out and say this on the record? Like, I don't think so.
Also, you know that he said, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but he said that women orgasming during sex is demonic because they're being like men.
A woman is not supposed to be having a climax.
What?
any woman that's
but
having
he
a
gay?
climax is becoming a man. That's why a woman has to make herself do it, where a man does it naturally.
What? I swear. I mean, TikTok and YouTube have opened up a whole new world for me. Like, I feel like I don't know, maybe it is because I was homeschooled. Like, I feel a little sheltered. Like, I just don't know men like this. And when I see them on YouTube and TikTok, I'm like, is this real? Like, do men I know actually like behave and think like this behind the scenes and I have no idea? I don't think so.
Well, Peterson, he does have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. He's a total friend. Like I said, he's so extreme that I've always thought he seemed like a parody bot to me. But who are the hundreds of thousands of people that follow him? They probably don't all agree with everything he says, but it's like there's something about this loony dude they're drawn to, and I don't get it. But now it's starting to make sense, is all I'll say. It's starting to make a lot of sense.
Starting to track. And I will say too, I don't know, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because, and maybe we'll do this on another episode, but I've been kind of watching like what I would call the fall of Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson's somebody I liked for a long time, and I think he's gone a little cuckoo. But that aside, I've just been thinking about what he's meant to so many men. And I've been thinking about like how many men like this guy out there have huge followings of men. And I'm really just kind of marinating on how lost I feel a lot of men are in our society for real role models, for people to teach them how to be men. I think that's something that comes from like the fatherlessness epidemic that we have, with so many people not having strong fathers to look up to growing up. But then also just like, you know, you and I have talked a good bit about kind of like the changing gender norms, and even in dating, like how that's been difficult at times, and how I think a lot of men are lost these days because if you're no longer, you know, prized based off your ability to provide, if women are outpacing you in degrees, if they're outpacing you in income, if they are now, you know, boss girls and strong and independent and don't need you for those things, now what value do you bring to the table in society? And I feel like there's been a lot to support women during my lifetime, and to say like, you can achieve, you can do this, you can be all things. And I feel like we've left men in the dust to some extent. We haven't provided them with a new role to play in society, and it's leading to this underbelly.
I think that's how they end up attracted to personalities like Jesse Lee Peterson, who are openly misogynistic and very much like, honestly, it's a woke term, but it has truth, like toxic masculinity, the manosphere, alpha male, this kind of stuff. I think it's because there's not enough role models of healthy masculinity in the modern setting and era. And it's really unfortunate because we don't want people going down this path that is full of ignorance and repression. And it's like Jesse Lee Peterson, he does not come across as a happy, healthy, adjusted person. He comes off as either a complete scam artist who's just doing a persona for money, or somebody who's deeply, deeply troubled. And what the new reporting suggests that it might be the latter.